Hello, Bio30, and welcome to the video on hGH. We're going to go to, I think, page 16 of your notes, I believe. You're looking for the title, How It Should Function, Part 5, the anterior pituitary. Because today you're learning how the pituitary gland helps regulate growth hormone and how the growth hormone affects your body if the pituitary gland is not secreting the right amount of hGH in your body. The goal today is to be able to draw the feedback loop or the normal release mechanisms for hGH, identify the targets of hGH, and then we'll eventually discuss the different diseases that can occur from the lack of or too much hGH. And we'll talk about when the onsets of those diseases occur. So, how it should function, part 5, anterior pituitary. I can't talk. Anterior pituitary. So hGH, also known as the human growth hormone, it actually stimulates your liver to secrete what we call growth factors. Now, those growth factors then target things like protein synthesis, the building of proteins to help, fix muscles or help with any sort of tendons and ligament, those kinds of things. It also helps with cell division, the growth of cartilage. Specifically, it does target bone, muscle, cartilage. That's one of the biggest parts. And then it also helps with the metabolic breakdown of fats and adipose tissue. So the picture you're seeing here is the normal functioning of hGH. Hypothalamus targets pituitary, pituitary releases hGH, it goes to the liver, and it does its job. So let's look at here, okay? hGH occurs your whole life, but let's talk about the human growth hormone when it's released during puberty. So this is its normal everyday function, happens like this all the time. Let's talk about it here. So what we have here is the stimulus, androgen release or puberty. So what's going to happen is this androgen release and during puberty is going to target the anterior pituitary. So in the box I've given you, you want to draw this. Now the stimulus, you might want to say stimulus is stimulating the hypothalamus. This is what's triggering the hypothalamus to go to the anterior pituitary gland to release hGH. Once hGH is released, it'll target most cells. Specifically, it goes to the liver where the liver secretes those growth hormones. And the idea here is the effect of it is to promote promotes growth through protein synthesis and cell division. So that is the normal use of hGH. When you are going through puberty or as hGH spikes, especially during puberty, eventually it's going to have that negative feedback loop that we talked about, that stop mechanism. Eventually you're going to grow, your cells are going to divide, you're going to grow, you're going to grow. And eventually your body's going to say, hey, hypothalamus, hey, pituitary gland, stop, no more, we don't need it. That's our negative feedback loop, okay? So you can draw this one, or you can draw this one. Either one is fine to demonstrate how the feedback loop of hGH works. This picture doesn't have that stop mechanism, which this one does with the red lines. So you can draw either or. This is what your drawing quiz will be on, is on the human growth hormone. So being able to draw that feedback loop. So now let's go back in our notes and back up and pop up to page 15. When things go wrong in the anterior pituitary. So what I want to talk about now is when hGH doesn't go right, what happens? So you can see here there's two words, hyposecretion, which we would have talked about as too little, and hypersecretion, which means too much. So you have two spaces to write about both of these. So let's talk about when things go wrong, part 5, human growth hormone. So the human growth hormone, when not secreted enough, can cause a type of dwarfism. Now, there are many types of dwarfism that can occur. Some are genetic, okay, and others can be actually caused due to a mechanism which causes our pituitary gland to not function. So when you have that happening, you can actually stimulate the pituitary gland by giving it human growth hormone and trying to help fix the pituitary gland. And you can actually not correct it, but you can grow a bit more. All right. So That's what hyposecretion means. It's not enough, so you suffer from a type of dwarfism. It can be reversed a little. You can take a few different types of growth hormone for to help stimulate growth, and you can grow a little bit. Now, there's two types of hypersecretion. Hypersecretion means way too much. We need to distinguish between the two. In childhood, if you have way too much human growth hormone, your body's just pumping it out left, right, and center, even before puberty even starts, you suffer from something called gigantism. Now, gigantisms, uh, some of the main symptoms are enlarged hearts, obviously very, very, very tall, very bigger, like a lot of your organs are bigger, your bones are bigger, everything is just big. Okay. So gigantism is when somebody will grow probably close to 7, sometimes almost 8 feet tall. Now, a lot of times people who have gigantism don't live very long lives, and that is because they have a too big of a heart. And as a heart, the muscle itself eventually gives out and it can't handle having to circulate the blood through such a big structure. So that is in childhood gigantism. So it has to happen before puberty and into puberty. Okay, there we go. The next one is hypersecretion too much in adulthood. Now, mainly this is like young adulthood, mid 20s and up. Okay. So what you see here is in adulthood, you will get something called acromegaly. Now, acromegaly is causing the bones to keep growing and the cartilage. And you especially noticed acromegaly in your hands, face, and feet because the hands actually shrink, like they don't shrink, but the fingers just get thicker. They don't get longer. So they look very, very much like short sausage fingers, like really, really round and big. The knuckles are quite large and protruding. The nose widens, the jaw widens, the face structures themselves kind of elongate. Your arms and legs keep growing, but mostly your feet grow really big. Your toes, the knuckles on your toes get really large. Okay. So acromegaly causes the bones to keep growing and the cartilage of your nose and ears to continue to grow. Now, acromegaly doesn't start right away. This is the same woman through her lifetime. Here she is at 9 years old, 16 years old, 33. So you can see somewhere in between here and here, the pituitary gland stopped functioning properly, and instead of slowing down the human growth hormone, it kept pumping it up. And so she started to notice signs and symptoms of acromegaly. You can see the nose, the jawline, okay? And by age 52, her face is quite long and wide. Look at her knuckles, okay? And look at her fingers, quite large and protruding, okay? So that is acromegaly in adulthood. So what is happening is this little guy right here, this pituitary gland right here, is being triggered by the hypothalamus, secreting it to the many cells of your body to help with growth. Dwarfism, not enough from the pituitary gland. Acromegaly and gigantism is too much from the pituitary gland. So please make sure you have your feedback loop written down, a few notes from the two diseases, and we will be drawing a drawing quiz on the feedback loop shortly. Have a great time, and if you have any questions, please let me know.